What's up, Central Florida sports fans? We're back. Your man, the Black Handicap. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel while we're here. Before I get started, but let's dig in. So, back talking about college football. Went through going through Josh Pate's state of the program type videos where he's gone through and he's interviewed all the big three coaches here in Florida. Gators, Billy Napier, Mike Norvell from Florida State, and Mario Cristobal. So these have been very good interviews. You should watch them. They're in depth, extended interviews, 45 minutes to an hour. And I'll be going through all three of those for the big three here in Florida. You can check out the one for Billy Napier and Mario Cristobal as well. So what are we looking at here with Big Mike, right? Mike's coming off a tough season, right? Noles fans were sorely disappointed last year with the results of what they had seen, especially after you had a team that went, undefeated throughout the season, and then, that happened. So coming in, you definitely want to hear what Mike has to say, right? He kind of closed his practices a little bit. Not as much access that there was in the past. So, Noles fans are kind of left to wonder what's happening. How do things look? War Chant always has some information, so that's out there, but I'm not sure how much Noles fans trust War Chant after last season. That might have been to Mike Norvell's benefit. The fact that I think people were more mad at War Chant than they were at Mike Norvell in some instances. So that may have worked out for Mike, but now he doesn't have that, and so he's got to put up or shut up here this season. So a couple of things, well, three things, right? These three things. So what are the three things I pulled from this particular interview with Mike? So thing number one is, this is a big kind of restart, right? Let's listen to what Mike's saying about this season.
Describe the last few months to them.
And it's been a full speed sprint. And, as you sit there and you go through it, you finish, last year, obviously we had big change within our program. We had two new coordinators, different coaches, basically a new team of guys that, leaving and, going in their direction. Some guys, graduating, some guys, looking at other opportunities for them, and some that we needed to probably have a separation with. But on the flip side of it, you have guys that are coming in. We had 15 high school freshmen that started in January. We had 16 transfers that came in. And with every person, my biggest thing was the edge. It was the urgency, the determination, the desperation to go and fulfill all that they can throughout this journey. Because in all reality, we get to do this one time.
Right. So first thing I noticed Saturday is like, man, we got 15 new freshmen starting in January and 16 transfers. It's a lot, that's 31 new players on the squad, right? So you're talking about a third of your roster, right? Because the limit on the roster is 105, something like that. That includes practice players. So, that's a lot of new people. You're talking about a restart, right? You've got to restart with talent, with players. You've got to restart with coaching. So he's got a big task in front of him. Are Noles fans going to be patient enough to let him restart on this level? That's what I'm wondering, right? Do they expect him to make a big turnaround? And I asked this same thing, and I'm asking this in all three of these videos with coaches. And a little less for Mario. He's kind of living a little better than the other two. But what constitutes a successful season for Mike Norvell, right? Does he have to win 8 games? Does he have to go at least 500? Does he have to play for the ACC championship? Does he have to win it? I think after last season, a lot of Noles fans just want to see improvement. But I think that's a gray area, and that's going to leave Mike kind of hanging out there in the breeze, right? But the big thing right now is when I look at this, like, damn, Mike, you got to start over. You got a lot of new talent out there, a lot of new players. There's a lot that you've got to teach. You've got to build the culture with these new guys, and 16 of these guys are transfers, so you're allowing these guys to come in and have an impact, right? That's why you go out and get transfer players. So Mike's got a big task in front of him right now that he's gonna have to, get this program up to speed. And it's not just the players; he's got a whole bunch of new coaches, right? He two new coordinators, so a lot going on in Tallahassee. Are Noles fans gonna be patient enough to let him rebuild? So we're gonna find out. So let's take a look at this next clip, because this is, to me, important in terms of, if I'm a Noles fan, which I'm not, but I still follow the program. And, I like to see all three Florida programs do well, because when all three Florida programs are doing well, and it never really happens, but the more those programs are doing well, the better it is for Florida football, right? The state of Florida football. But thing number two that I'm thinking about, or I'm wondering, I'm sure most Noles fans are wondering, is, does he know what went wrong last season? What's the issue? And this is interesting because Josh Pate asked him, when you're looking back on this season, do you have to, was it a bunch of little things, or did you have to burn it all down? And Mike Norvell's answer was interesting, if not contradictory to what's happening in real life. Let's listen to what Mike said in response to that question.
Or is it like an outsider thinks, and oh man, you just got to burn the whole thing down, then you got to start from scratch? Because I'd imagine it's the former and not the latter.
No, it is, and it is the little things that make the big things happen. And as we go through it, and you evaluate, you look at it, it's also on the flip side. As we're coming off a year, a couple seasons ago where we were 5-7 our second year. And you know what? There were a lot of little things that happened to go into 2022 where you win 10 games, where you have a 3-game losing streak in the middle of the season, but we're able to flip it. And then you go on a course of winning, 19 straight. Right. Well, those are little things. There were little things that were put in place in year one that built upon year two. Right. And then you got to you get to lift a trophy, you get to win a championship, you get a lot of awards, guys getting drafted, fulfilling dreams. The next year, there were some little things that took place, and it's everybody involved, coaches, players. There were some good things that were done. There were some bad things that were done, all with the right intentions, right? But it was still those little things that allowed for the results that we faced, and then how we responded to those events, to those experiences. And that's where I look back, and it's about making sure that from top to bottom, that it's the accountability, it's the structure, it's the push. I know, once again, what it looks like and have achieved it at an elite level. But also, it's the processes that have to be in place, and the accountability that has to be in place to make sure that when a play doesn't go the way you want it to go.
Okay, so the question was, go check out the video. All right, go check out the actual video on Josh Pate's channel. The link is down in the description, so you can go check it out. I kind of cut off the question, but he basically asked, is it little things, or do you need to burn this whole thing down? And Josh Pate said, I don't think it's, just burn it down. And Mike's kind of saying, yeah, well, it was a bunch of little things. But hey, Mike, you went and got 2 new coordinators. You changed all your staff. You got 31 new players on campus, but you're telling me it's the little things. Don't make sense. That don't add up. That does not add up. There's confusion there. It sounds like Mike's scrambling a little bit here, right? It sounds like double talk. And all coaches give you some double speak. But on that particular subject, to me, it just did not add up, right? You're telling me, well, it's little things. It was little things here and little things there, but you fired everybody. Right now, and if you've watched this channel before, I had one episode where we just kind of talked about how we're feeling about the Big Three coming towards the start of the season. And one of the things I talked about was, what made no sense to me was that Mike Norvell fired the staff that took him undefeated, right? So if all of a sudden now you're telling me it was a bunch of little things, not big things, and we probably, but you burnt the whole thing down. So you made it a bunch of big things so that you could change the little things. And you got rid of the people who took you undefeated during a season, right? And had it not been for some critical injuries, right, to Jordan Travis, how far does that team go? So, I'm confused. I think Mike sounds a little confused. Mike's just talking, right? Mike knows what's going on. Mike knows there's lots of pressure. He has to be careful what he says. And so this was kind of a weird section of the interview that I wasn't completely buying everything Mike was saying here. I think Mike's just trying to stay afloat a little bit right now, particularly in the interview. But he knows this is a tough season coming up. So interesting to see there, an interesting response that to me was a little confusing, a little contradictory. So what's thing number 3? Thing number 3 is about the talent, right? His best recruiting class in terms of ranking was the 2024 recruiting class, right? At the start of last season. So that recruiting class was ranked 11th nationally. All his other ones, all his other recruiting classes have been ranked in the 20s, right? And including his 2025 class was ranked in the 20s. And that makes sense to a certain degree because, he got rid of his staff, so he had to start all over again. Right now, you're depending on, and let's take a look at this clip because what he's doing, he's kind of talking about how he's building his roster at this point.
On the transfers as a big picture whole over the last 4 years, the guys that we've been bringing in, the production they've had, the development, and plenty of schools have signed a lot more. We were just right on the ones that we brought. Now, it hasn't been perfect. It hasn't, obviously we've seen the good and the bad through that situation. But, when you look at the high school, when we came here, right, there was a challenge. COVID happened, a year and a half, we don't get to go into high school. So we had to take, a lot of projections, still building it, we're building the program to show what it can be, what it can become, so we had to take some projections there early and some guys that were able to develop and play and, have good careers here. But, you look at that, 22, 23 season as the product on the field was showing the capabilities of the growth, the way that the playmakers were, showcased. All right. Well, those were our best classes. And those are the guys that if you look over the last few years, I'm really excited about them taking this next step and, making sure that, that you show that progression, you show those guys and the, the development aspect of what they've been able to do. And then you continue to build upon that, as you move forward. And so I've been pleased with where it's been. We have had a balance because, sometimes, you talk about the transfer portal, it's the complementary pieces. Yep. Right. You got to be able to bring a guy in that fits the room, that fits the need, the desire. And sometimes it's the experience, sometimes it's a maturity, sometimes it's a physical development. But it's always about making sure that as you're building the program that one and assess the areas of need, and then that you're addressing that through each guy that comes in. And I think for the most part over the last 5 years we've done a good job of that. But there's been misses, and it's about eliminating and minimizing the times where you might miss on or maybe have a
Okay, so you heard what Mike had to say there. Again, some of that Mike Norvell kind of double speak, and I understand the man is under a lot of pressure. He has to be very careful what he says. But he's talking about recruiting and developing players, and some of that works out, some of it doesn't, and so that may and that's the big key for Mike, right? Is that really the problem, right? In that last section of interviews, or that little section of the interview, is that really where the problem lies? And Mike just can't keep the talent on, or doesn't have enough talent on the roster and can't consistently recruit well enough to have the talent he needs to win, every season. Did he catch lightning in a bottle, 2 seasons ago when you had Jordan Travis and you had the transfers that go on to be first round draft picks? Can he repeat that with this class? And so he talks about being a little hit or miss with recruiting, and then what he looks for in transfer guys. And this season, he talked about, hey, what I really needed this season was I needed some seasoned guys to fill in. And that makes sense because he had, like I said, the 2024 class was ranked number 11, right? So those guys are going to be the ones coming into this season more ready to play, or those are the guys we're expecting to play. But they're young, right? And didn't get a lot of playing time last season, or not a lot of quality playing time, it appears. So he's saying, hey, I'm using the portal this season to kind of fill in, give it a little experience here or there. And so now, are we back to hit or miss, right? How much confidence does Mike have in what he's brought onto campus? So you know, outside of that season and a half, Mike has struggled. And so is this really the issue for Mike Norvell? The fact that he's having trouble identifying and bringing talent onto campus. And so now he's brought on a whole new set of coaches. And so you have to believe that maybe part of that was making sure these guys were better recruiters, right? He brought Gus Malzahn. I'm not sure, Gus Malzahn can get you, has a reputation, right? He has a reputation for being a great offensive mind. So does that help the Noles bring in better offensive talent, right? We'll have to wait and see going forward. What it did do is it brought Castellanos, right, to FSU. It found him a quarterback. How good is that quarterback? That we don't know. Last season, Mike Norvell thought he had the quarterback that he needed to take him where he wanted to go as a program, and it just didn't work out. He had some young talent. It's all gone. And so now he's kind of starting from scratch there as well, right? In at the quarterback position with Castellanos. A lot of questions about him, right? We know he gave the Noles fits, but can he give the rest of the ACC the same problems he gave Florida State as an opponent? So this is, like I said, Mike's got a lot of pressure. Man, I do not envy this guy. The weight of the world is on him in Tallahassee. I'm not sure if he knows all the answers. I didn't feel like he had all the answers or felt like he knew exactly what it was that he needed to do to turn things around. Let's hope it works out for him. Yeah, and full disclosure, yeah, I'm a Gators fan, so I'm not saying this because like I said, I want to see the Noles do well. I want you to be undefeated when you play the Gators because it makes it all look better, right? When we drag that ass. So, but Mike's got a lot of questions. I think this interview still leaves us with a lot of questions. It makes us wonder, hey, Mike, is your big issue just recruiting and attracting talent right now? Was 2 seasons ago lightning in a bottle, or can you actually develop players from the roster, your high school recruits? Can you develop a team? The problem is his window's so short right now, right? Right now, he doesn't have a lot of time. If things don't go well this season, Mike's probably gone, right? Again, that's the question. What is it that is satisfactory? Is it 500? Is it to win 8 games? Does he have to, play in the ACC championship? Does he have to win it? What's going to satisfy Noles fans? Let us, Noles fans out there, let me know down in the comments. What is it going to take to satisfy you that you say, all right, Mike, let's give Mike some more time to keep doing, because I think he needs time. I think he doesn't have the talent. I think he's got to get the talent, and now he's got to get the talent and the coaching staff together so that they can build the program, right? He's basically back to square one. So we'll see what happens. Going to be interesting. Can't wait for the season to start. Remember, subscribe and like. Give me your comments. Hit the comment section. Remember that the video link to the entire interview is down in the comments, so check that as well. It's your boy Black Andy, Black Andy Cap. Peace.